either or something.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Eli, 10th Man, Neil, Adam, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Let's get it on! Let's get it on!
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. In a slight change to the usual format of this show, we're going to do a couple of housekeeping questions, then move on to a response video. So if we have this format continue, we'll hopefully make our way through all of the housekeeping questions by the end of the week. So yesterday we covered Earth Curve and Molten Iron Core. Today we're going to be covering the following, which is any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety.
No, there's not. There's not one piece of evidence whatsoever. You know, they do say the stars appear to move because the Earth's turning underneath, but then you can do experiments at home to disprove that. You can hover a drone and stand underneath it for a period of time, and you will not see any apparent drift. So that debunks any proposal of any Earth turn whatsoever.
So that's an experiment? I didn't know that.
It's just a visual.
My bad, I interrupted you. I said he's talking to you one day. Go ahead.
I was saying it's just a visual experiment, Neil.
A visual experiment? No.
Someone's going to get toasted any minute.
No, we're just going to move on. Any evidence of the distance to the sun? To toast things.
93 million miles away in all textbooks.
Just to come back to one day, there is Airy's failure, the observation that he makes, which uses logic to conclude that it's the stars that are moving and not the Earth.
Also not an experiment.
That's what I said, observation. That's what
No, I realise, but it's just the way it's phrased is it's called Airy's failure, and the failure is to assert that it's confirmed the null, but it's not an experiment.
Just regarding the
Can we
sun
then
question.
One second. Go ahead, one day.
I was just saying it was. It's only a short. I was just reading something. I was just reading something on that. It's from a NASA document. Not that that means anything. It was just something I was actually reading myself, and it's to do with how they determined or presumed distances. I'll just read it to you from a NASA document. Why are these distances important to astronomers? And it says, during the 18th and 19th centuries, astronomers used the diameter of the Earth as a basic yardstick in determining the size of the solar system. Today's astronomers usually do not need to know the size of the Earth for their daily research activities. Nevertheless, the diameter of the Earth still is the first step for us, the residents of this planet, in our attempt to understand the cosmic distance scale. So they're basically saying
you're going to need R for that, is what they're saying. Yeah, we'll need to abate the question of an R value immediately for everything we do.
Exactly.
Yep, correct.
You notice how they convoluted that? It's 2R they're using. They're using diameters now. They hide the R by calling it 2R as a diameter.
Of course, RD. RDRR.
OR.
Brilliant. Okay, so that's it for housekeeping. We're only going to do a couple of questions a day now when we're doing videos. So today's video, again, like all of them, I have no idea what this is. So this is got by Connor Pugs. Whoever you are, great for you. And we're going to copy your link and we're going to share it, even if you're negative towards us. Also, shout out to J-Mels, is it? Let's have a look.
Morning, guys.
Hey, Chocolate. Yeah, shout out to J-Mels24. Thank you very much for the super chat. Okay, I'm going to try something different. 5 more hours. No. Although the computer is capable of it. Let's be honest. And that's important. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. JMels24. Okay, so we're going to be covering this. It's Connor Pugs. I've shared the link in the live stream chat, so go and check him out. Subscribe to him if you like this sort of thing, depending on how it goes. Either way, it's been shared. And if you're covering me, yeah, if you're making a video that's inevitably going to get 100,000 views because you're covering me, right? It'd be nice if you did the same. If you put the link to my channel so people could actually subscribe to me when you garner 100,000 views off my back. That'd be nice. Yeah, like I'm going to do this for this guy. Yeah, it doesn't matter if he's my opponent. I'm still going to share his link. You notice that? It's there underneath the super chat.
Nathan.
Go ahead.
Hey, Nathan. Yeah, I will just talk about this in the pre-show. This video is no good, but go ahead, I guess.
Well, no, just tell us. Just otherwise, the interruption.
No, there's no claim. There's no story. There's no link to the original story. It's all hearsay. Okay, go ahead, but there is nothing here. Trust me.
Sounds a bit like the heliocentric model, mate.
No, saying the content of this video, Gen Z kids think Earth is actually flat. Video by Connor Pugs. He's saying there's nothing to it. There's no substance, which is fine. We'll find that out.
How's it going, everyone? Hope you're having a good day. Today we have a story time of a Gen Z kid who actually thinks the Earth is flat. Like, thinks we're literally living on a saucer, bro. I'm not.
Sorry, where did the kid say that they're living on a saucer? Did you just insert this nonsense that a kid presumably didn't say? So, lying about what children say. If the kid doesn't get shown as saying the Earth's a saucer, I'm going to call you a scumbag, Connor Pugs. What is it, 8 seconds, 9 seconds into your video, I'm calling you a scumbag. So have you just superimposed this idea of a saucer and made it seem like a kid said that? Wanker. Better damn well show a kid saying Earth's a saucer next.
Not even kidding. Today's story is from the teacher's...
Not even kidding. You better damn well show it if you're not even kidding. It better be a quote.
Perspective, so it's actually quite funny to see how the teacher would react to such nonsense. So that...
Nonsense? Why? Earth is navigated, measured, obviously and observably flat. We can prove it and we can disprove your heliocentric nonsense. So something you've not even looked into and have decided to put words in children's mouths is nonsense based on what? Next thing out of his mouth is going to be a stone cold debunking of a flat Earth, right?
That being said, leave a like on the video to...
No, it's going to be do the YouTube stuff. So baseless assertion followed by subscribe and like me because I can make lots of baseless assertions and put words in children's mouths like a total scumbag. Who put this video up? Great video. Love it already.
Claim you're free nothing. No joke, guys. And let's jump right into it. So anyways, we're going to call the subscribers submitted...
So by let's jump right into it, you're going to start talking about your subscribers. So what you actually mean is, let's not get right into it. Let's carry on talking about YouTube and subscribing to your channel and not getting into it at all. Wanker.
The story, Brian. So Brian is a younger teacher. Like, Brian is probably about 26, 27, and he just recently began teaching, right? So his class is full of Gen Z kids. One thing Brian...
So who cares? This is reasonably interesting, but fine. Who cares?
...has noticed is just like TikTok and Twitter and all this kind of stuff has absolutely just ruined the new generation of students.
I'm sorry, it's a platform. people publish stuff on TikTok and Twitter and YouTube and Bebo and MySpace, right? They're just platforms. So in the same way as you can search for things on the internet and those searches might lead people down a dark path, that isn't Google's fault, you dumbass.
Students, like there's some kids in this class that are just doing stuff that he would never do in school. And
what, like comprehension, which is what you're only supposed to do in a modern public school. That is to say, you listen, you regurgitate, and if you do anything outside of that, you get in trouble. What, they're using their minds, and that's an outrage because you shouldn't do that in school? Yeah, the school system's a joke.
One thing that Brian has to do and spends a lot of his time doing is literally...
It's figuring out how he's going to get pay rises, figuring out how he's got the best deal out of the Teachers Association, moaning about the circumstances he works in, the school, moaning about the conditions of the school, moaning about the other teachers, moaning about the headmaster, moaning about the pay structure, moaning about the pension. Very little of this teacher's time will be concerned with the kids. I absolutely assure you.
Literally just finding people that are so addicted to TikTok that they're spending their entire day just scrolling on TikTok, that they're even doing it in class. Like Brian literally has to go.
You're a YouTuber who's just literally in the last 3 minutes told people to subscribe to your channel. I mean, is this contradictory nonsense not even obvious to you? You've just literally told people as a content producer to subscribe to your channel, and now you're moaning about people spending hours and hours watching content on a similar platform to your own? Are you nuts? Again, who picked this? This is great.
Into class, find these people like every like at least 5 times a day in class. He has to go up to people, tell them to get off their phones, get off Twitter, get off TikTok, all that type of stuff.
What? Telling kids off in school? Wowee.
Kids are literally making TikToks in class. Like, I don't know, man. Brian is is a little worried for Gen Z, bro, but...
What, looking at their phones while they should be listening and being educated? Okay, fine. Yeah, kids are little shits. I get it.
The story I'm about to tell you that Brian told me will make you even more worried for Gen Z than all the other stories I've told you so far.
This Gen Z thing, in quotes, right? This is just a stereotyping fallacy. So all Gen Z kids... What? You're going to bundle all of the kids together based on this critique that you're going to do of some teacher and his experience with his class of kids who aren't listening to him. Maybe he should be a better teacher and they wouldn't be on their phone. Said he was an early, young teacher, new into the job. Yeah, good teachers, kids pay attention to them. They don't look at their phones because the teachers are good and they want to listen to them. I've had plenty of good teachers. I assure you, I don't find the need to look on my phone. Not that there was them when I was in school. But you know what I'm getting at. Good teachers get the kids' attention. It's just that simple. Maybe he's a crap teacher.
Brian has a story of when kids in his class banded together, trying to convince him that the Earth is actually flat, and that they were trying to basically gaslight Brian into believing that the Earth...
Sorry, now you're accusing children of gaslighting. You're accusing kids of narcissistic behaviour. This guy is scum. Connor Pugs, you scumbag. Yeah, I better be seeing a kid say that the Earth's a plate, and I better be experiencing a child going through the motions of narcissistic behaviour, in this case, gaslighting. Yeah, we better see all this. Otherwise, you really are going to get an earful from me.
The Earth is flat, and that he's the...
Yes.
Well, how are you? How's everyone? Yeah, I just want to say, this guy, because I listened to this the other day, I think it was 10th that posted the video. This guy, what about the Gen Z kids who said the Earth was a globe? Are they okay? Or is it only the Gen Z kids who say it's flat? No, he's a complete lowlife, this fella. And the teacher he's talking about is supposedly 26. He's not exactly a wizened old man, is he? A sage of knowledge.
One wrong here, even though he's the teacher and the Earth isn't flat. So yeah, let's dive into that part of the story.
So he's the teacher, what, therefore automatically correct about everything he parrots from his resource material? No, definitely not. 10th, do you want to give your example of what the teacher said to you about this particular subject?
Yeah, but of course not, because if this had been a video about a teacher saying the same thing, that the Earth's flat, he'd be saying, "Oh, this is just a teacher that's lost his marbles, right? This teacher doesn't know what he's talking about." It's just a bias that this guy has.
Oh, it's not the teacher,
right?
though, in this example, is it, Chocolate? It's the psychopathic gaslighting children.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyways, this all started one day when the teacher, Brian, basically gave a presentation that kids could do, like that they were doing a presentation in a week from now and that they could choose a topic that they wanted to. It was more or less a presentation to kind of like get your skills with presentations well, because in this class, so they were 7th graders and they...
So what I'm hearing is it's an open subject matter for you to do a presentation on. And from what he's told us, I don't hear any stipulations about not covering certain subjects. Like if you came in and said, I'm going to do a presentation on Muhammad. Yeah, and they go, oh, no, you're not allowed to do that. Especially if you've got pictures. No, definitely not. Right? No, there's no preface for the children being detailed by this guy. Now, obviously, this guy's just a wanker, so he's not going to know everything about the story. But like I say, it sounds to me like the point of the exercise is about presentation and presenting, not about the subject matter covered necessarily. But it seems that what the teacher's going to do is get into the subject covered rather than actually covering whether or not the kids have done a good job of presenting, which is the task at hand, by the sounds of things. Any comments?
Well,
go on.
Yeah, what kind of Pugs is level 3 flat scale. And what this is, and this teacher, this 26-year-old Brian guy, what the two of them are at are flat shaming.
Brian was actually teaching a communications class. I've never really heard of a communications class being outside of high school, but at the end of the day, or not out of high school, outside of college, like you can be a communications major in college.
So all we should really be critiquing these children is their ability to communicate then. So that's the task at hand, right?
College. I've never really heard of like straight up communications classes in high school and like definitely not middle school, but it's kind of cool to hear that they're doing stuff like that because I feel like more real-life skill classes should be taught earlier on. Like, I feel like communications, like learning how to present.
Oh, God, this guy goes on.
Learning how to talk to people, learning how to do all that. I feel like stuff like that being taught.
Really? You feel it's interesting to learn how to communicate? How profound.
In school at an early age would actually be super beneficial. So it's pretty cool to hear about this. But anyways.
Sorry, I think that's a basic requirement. It's not like pretty cool. They learned how to communicate. But meanwhile, they're like being taught to communicate, and the subject matter that they cover is going to get critiqued very thoroughly by the sounds of things.
No, Nathan, he's building up the teacher so the teacher can look right and correct.
Brian, the teacher for this communications class for 7th graders, basically said you can do a presentation on literally anything you want. The presentation won't really be necessarily graded on the content.
There you go. I called it. I was right. So it's not about the presentation, but that's all we're going to be critiquing here today.
Content, it will be definitely more graded on the presentation.
So this is about the teacher's fear of the subject matter in the presentation rather than his ability to teach the kids good communication skills, which is the primary reason for this task. But the teacher can't cope with it because his belief's being challenged when someone presents something about flat Earth. So that's going to turn into the focus. This is fundamentalist religious zealotry. Directed at children in schools, it's an outrage. Who gives a crap what they cover? Did they present it well? Did they communicate the information well or not? Not are they right? And even if they were or weren't, it's not relevant to the task at hand. But that's all we're going to focus on as flat scared. What did you call them, Brian? Level 3 flat fear or something?
Oh, yeah, this guy Connor Pugs, he's level 3 flat scared.
Flat scared.
The teacher is level 2 flat scared. Yeah.
So that was kind of to give them a little bit of free reign. Like if they wanted to do a presentation on their family vacation to the center of the earth, like the core of the earth, like sure, they could go ahead and do that, right?
So if they want to make a presentation on going to a fantasy core that is the most laughable housekeeping question that we ask, somewhere that not only can you not visit, somewhere that isn't validated to even exist, you're saying that would be cool, then they'd just critique their presentation skills on it because it's in line with your religion. So in your religion, there's a core. If they talk about going to it, that's cool. If they talk about Earth being flat as it's navigated that way, and as all the maps present it, and as all the territory's been laid out, and the areas of equal elevation measured by flat plane angles to Polaris, all of that stuff that is unequivocally demonstrating Earth to be flat, that's not allowed to be talked about, not going to be the reason for the critique in terms of the presentation skills, because it's not about something in line with your religious belief. This is zealotry in schools. It's why I homeschool. Yeah. I don't want my kid to be set the task of learning how to communicate well, and they cover something like Nazism, and suddenly the teacher gets all offended and says, I want to critique how you view the world in terms of the eyes through a Nazi. Well, it doesn't really make any difference to the presentation skills. Did he communicate the information well or not? Oh, you don't like what he's covering. It would have been okay if he'd covered liberalism. That would have been cool, right? It would have been cool if he'd covered a core, because you believe in a core. Can't go there, but if he decided physically you can't go there, even if it did exist, but if the child describes physically going there, that's cool, in line with your religious belief. What an outrage. This world's scummy sometimes. I don't like the world we live in sometimes. And this is an example. It's always when it comes to teachers, people like fucking Charles Flat Earth Math, the total scum. The people who know this not to be true. This teacher, fine, he gets a pass. He probably doesn't know any better, even though the kids are educating him. My bad. Gaslighting him, right? Connor. No, the kids aren't gaslighting him, you stupid shit. I have to try and calm my language down. My blood boils whenever it comes to the education of children. Now, when it comes to the education of children by teachers who know what we put out there, that makes my blood boil. It makes me absolutely fuming. There's nothing more enraging to me than this subject. I should have realised that when we started talking about it. But if I ever get involved in Charles, that's Flat Earth Math, or who's the other guy? Cats. These people enrage me. They are the scum of the earth. The lowest of the low. They're held up in respect terms higher than most careers that you can have. They're not. Not teachers, far from it. Just those teachers, the teachers who know better, that have been told how their religious belief they peddle to kids does not work. They haven't overcome our arguments. They haven't refuted them. They've called us idiots like everybody else does. And then moved on indoctrinating the kids with the nonsense they know not to be true. They are scum. Cats, Charles. And if we find out from the information given to the teacher by the children that this guy should know better, I'll label this teacher scum too. Any comments? While I lower my blood pressure. No?
And it wouldn't really matter what the content was. It was more how they presented it.
It wouldn't matter what the content was, but we're going to be very specifically critiquing a couple of the kids' content. Double speak much?
So there was a rubric of like, you have to have a certain amount of slides. Your stuff needs to be cohesive. You can't start being like, all right, guys, so here's my presentation to the center of the earth. And now we're going to talk about like this unicorn I saw in my backyard. Like,
right, so it's got to be coherent and communicate the information. The information itself and what the subject matter isn't relevant so long as it's not saying, I'm going to talk about moving to a physical place I can't travel, center of earth, part of your religious belief. But then they talk about something completely different, flying in the sky. It's got to be coherent and cohesive. Right, yeah. But it doesn't have to be in line with your religious belief of a sphere, does it? Unless it isn't, then it's going to be a problem and we're going to make videos about it. Shout out to The Price of Adam. He says, absolutely shared. Keep going.
Like, you got to have a little bit of cohesion in your presentation to get full marks or whatever. And a lot of it was just like, how do you present to the crowd? Are you making eye contact? Are you, you know, kind of like speaking to the audience, not just reading off a bunch of bullet points?
Unless you go against the religious beliefs of heliocentrism, then it's a problem. Then it'll get discussed. Then the teacher will spend the lesson converting the kids back to his religious belief in a sphere, right?
Stuff like that. However, Brian...
And if they go against him, they're gaslighting him.
Brian was not expecting that he was going to get a presentation on the earth being flat. And then also when the teacher would go in...
So when he said you can do anything, he wasn't expecting the kids would go against his religious belief. And when they did, things changed. Right?
And try and correct the record, that half the students would defend the kid and say the earth is actually flat. This just goes to show the information.
Yeah, well, sorry, why would the teacher be trying to correct the child? Well, I mean, why would he suddenly feel the need to correct the child on that topic? You know, did he child that he felt was not speaking the truth? Or I thought the presentation was about their ability. It seems to me that this child obviously presented a very confident presentation. And that's the problem, because he had such confidence in it. Why did he have confidence in it? Because he has facts supporting it.
Maybe.
That's why.
Maybe.
And that terrifies him.
Yeah, if we now get to the Flat Earth kids and their Feast of Nonsense comes out, we won't be backing them. Or I won't. I don't care. You know, if they're talking crap to present a Flat Earth claim. But they might be.
I won't be either, but I've listened to it already. I have to go by the confidence the child has.
Okay.
That is causing a problem there.
I see. So the very thing that should get him a distinction in the actual task set becomes a problem because it's not in line with the heliocentric religious belief. Gotcha. So he's confident, he's making good eye contact, he's got so much skill in his presentation that the other kids around him start joining in with his presentation, but that's not going to be commended. We're going to talk about how wrong the thing in his presentation is. Okay, we're all clear.
Or the disinformation that is being spread on TikTok is definitely infecting the brains of the youth, and Brian's already seeing the damage of it. Yeah, so anyways, let's get...
So why has he decided that this is damage? It's okay to presuppose a spherical Earth that you can travel to the centre of. That's perfectly in line with this heliocentric belief, even though it's not physically possible. But because they're going against it, that's a problem. Yeah, absolutely outrageous. Suddenly, this is bad information. It's an outrage. Come on.
Nathan, he's a teacher. The school system has other classes, and in those other classes, the topic is the Earth, and obviously they're there, and they're spewing heliocentrism and molten iron core and all that goes with that. So here's a kid in a different class about speech and talking and presentation, and he chooses a subject that would defy one of the classes and one of the other teachers and what the school curriculum is. And the teacher himself, being young, had gone through school, so he saw what he was given. And all of a sudden, in his class, as a young teacher, kids are saying, no, I think the Earth is flat, and I'm going to do a presentation on that. So obviously, there is collisions and all kinds of things happening in this teacher's mind where he's going to say, okay, I'll grade you on your presentation, but I've also got to correct you on something. And this is where this is going to go. And then the question is, why is he trying to correct the student on the subject matter? Is it the cognitive dissonance that he's experiencing as a teacher? Is it because they've got to control us with this narrative? Let the audience decide.
Skip ahead to the day of the presentation. So Brian, the teacher, is kind of just, he's waiting there. He's watching his kids go up and they do presentations. Some kid did a presentation on his trip to Hawaii. One kid did a presentation on his family tree. And all the kids were doing pretty well. Brian wasn't going to be that strict of a grader. Like he was.
So far, just general stuff and how well they've communicated it. Right? Doesn't matter. Family tree, fine. Trip to Hawaii, fine. Covering the Earth as being a flat plane. Definitely not okay. Why didn't you pick a trip to the center of Earth?
He was literally planning on giving A's to anyone who went up there and at least tried. And if you went up there and it was kind of obvious that you did this presentation 15 minutes before class in the bathroom, like while trying to like fight off all the kids trying to like whip their vapes out in there or whatever, like then you might get a B. But really, he was just trying to give kids practice.
I wonder what grade these kids got. The ones that came up with a presentation that is the subject matter that's going to be critiqued rather than the presentation, it seems.
Trying to give kids opportunity and not as much trying to be like, oh, you didn't make eye contact with me for 7 minutes straight, I'm going to give you an F. Like, he's not trying to do anything crazy like that. So yeah, sure enough, the kids are going up there, and that's when this kid, who we're going to call the Gen Z kid, goes up there.
That's the kid we're going to stereotype as all kids that are scumbags that don't believe in what I believe in.
And begins his presentation. He's like, hello, everyone.
Is this the kid that gaslights him with a plate? Yeah, we're going to be wanting that quote.
I'm here to talk about a contested science fact that I do.
Sorry, a contested science fact. Doesn't know what science is. Science is the establishment of cause and effect through systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis to explain the cause of a phenomenon you observed in nature. There are no experimental facts when it comes to heliocentrism to challenge. They're not challengeable because scientific facts, if they were them, were empirical to begin with and therefore are infallible. They're not challengeable. They're always the same. Yeah, Earth being a sphere, number one, isn't within the purview of science. It's a concrete noun. It's not a phenomena for you to study. Same goes for flat Earth. So you're a moron, Connor Pugs. You don't know what science is. Don't speak about science. Don't tell us that kids are gaslighting people. Wanker.
You believe will be, the books will be corrected quite soon. And when, Brian, the teacher, heard this, is like, oh, okay, I wonder what this is about. Like, I really don't know any, pressing.
No, the books don't need correcting. Go and look at celestial navigation and how you find your position, your fix, using the stars and angle measurements to them, and how the world's been mapped. In fact, go to Google Earth. After you get over your religious affirmation in the presentation that's given to you as a little video, if you like, loading up the software, when you actually get down to the nitty-gritty of how the land actually lays, you can draw an elevation profile to see how the land's laid out and the heights of all of the topography in relation to a flat baseline. That's a flat Earth. An elevation profile in Google Earth will show you the entirety of Earth is flat, because that's how it's measured. Those are facts. There's no corrections going to be made to these books. That's how Earth is.
Science matters that,
Sorry, is this a science matter? Did I not just cover that Earth being a sphere or being a flat plane is a concrete noun and not inside the inquiry method of science? You don't know what science is.
Will be corrected in the book soon.
There's no correcting science. It's an empirical method.
According to this person, right? So he's like, yeah, the teacher, Brian, was actually quite...
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically here, the kid who's the Gen Z kid is saying the books are wrong, and soon they'll be corrected, the science will be corrected according to this narrative that he's giving. So here's that use of that word again, science. Now, they swing it around, and the minute they say it, it means validated. And so when they use it, it's, hey, it's established, the science is settled. Okay, can I see the hypothesis? Well, we don't have one. Well, then it's not settled. This kid is coming along and saying, they've pushed that type of science on us, and it's in the books, but that's soon to be corrected. The kid just doesn't know the arguments we have here that are refined that will come to his aid. So keep going. This is going to be good.
Quite interested. So that's when the Gen Z kid is like, all right, guys, as many of you guys know, the Earth is actually flat. Yeah, so Brian was a little bit like, wait a minute, is this a troll? Like, is this a troll presentation?
Does it matter? If he said that Krypton was real in the presentation, based on his understanding of cartoons or comic books, there'd be no issue here. None. If the presentation was of a science fiction nature or fictional nature at all, wouldn't have mattered. But instantly, the teachers heard that there's people... It's a statement of fact. As you all know, and he's correct, because we've already heard that the kids around him agree. So it's an opening statement of fact, and there's already an issue with his presentation that's not only caught the attention of the teacher to the point where his ears are pricked up, everything in his cognitive functionality is firing off at all cylinders, and the kids around him are all listening and agreeing and nodding and giving affirmation. This is an exceptional presentation from the moment it started, by the sounds of things.
Because Brian was thinking, okay, in theory, if someone goes up there and does a joke presentation...
He's going to say what I've just said, isn't he? He's going to say that if they do a joke presentation, so long as they get all of the requirements fulfilled, then fine.
Present it perfectly, like, I'm still going to give them a perfect score. Like,
told you! So, basically, it wouldn't matter what they presented, and in the teacher's mind, it's even the case that it doesn't matter if they present a fictional subject, so long as they gain the audience's attention and communicate it correctly. That's it! And it doesn't have a non sequitur in the middle, talking about going to Earth, centre, presupposed religious belief, and then talking about unicorns straight after. Non sequitur. As long as it doesn't do that, everything's cushy, unless you say Earth's flat. And make a statement of fact, as you all know, and the kids do, Earth's actually flat. That's an opening statement that's got absolutely nothing wrong with it in this presentation. Zero.
Like, if it's a joke presentation, Why
is it a joke? So instantly the teacher's assumption is that the kid's joking. No, he wasn't joking. All the kids around him did agree with him, and they did already know, didn't they? So definitely not a joke, but the automatic assumption, because it defies a religious belief, is the kid's joking and trolling you. What? This isn't about you. It's about a kid doing a presentation and he's doing it. But instantly your belief is the kid's gaslighting and trolling and joking with you. This is an outrage. That's why I don't put my kids in a school. So that when they do a really good job of something, they get told they're trolling and gaslighting.
Still going to give them...
And quotes about them saying plates get made up by wankers.
A perfect score. And another
Nathan,
thing...
Go ahead.
Yeah, what's going on here is not teaching, it's programming. That's what he's detailing. He's detailing someone being called a teacher that's really just a programmer. Because if that person has an issue, go on, Chocolate.
Yeah, I agree completely. And he's showing the fear of what happens when that be working. Because since you started this video, all this guy has sounded is like he's scared our steps or not.
You're breaking up a bit, Chocolate. A bit more than we only got 50% of that, but I think I got the same.
Chocolate roboting.
Pardon?
I like to say something. You all know my story. When I was younger, I've shared the story many times. I asked my teacher on subjects of evolution and everything else. You know, I don't see how that could be true. I mean, I don't believe that. I mean, how do you come from that to this and all these things? And finally, because I was the only one in a class of like 30 plus kids, always raising my hand, he said, you know what? I don't even believe it. This is the teacher, but I have to teach it. I said, oh, well, thank you very much. So in this case, the teacher, my teacher, was honest. He was programmed. He must program me. But he himself had issues with it.
Any comments from Discord? Anybody want to pipe up on this so far? Feel free. Just give them a couple of seconds to find their mute buttons. No, clearly not.
Is that better? Am I still breaking up?
No, that's perfect. That sounds clearer.
Is that better?
Yes.
It's about par for the course, Nathan. What else would we expect from a public indoctrination camp?
Right on. Do you want to repeat the last thing you said? Because we only got about half of it, Chocolate.
No, I was trying to, like, I agree completely with Brian, is that what's happening is programming. And what I said was, what I added to that was, it sounds, since you started this video, it sounds like this guy is afraid of what's happening when the programming doesn't seem to work, right? These kids are all of a sudden thinking that something that's not consensus, and all of a sudden it's a problem, and we have to general stereotype the entire Gen Z kid thing with being flat earthers, right? It's fear. That's what this sounds like to me, is fear. That's all I had with it.
Was like the thing is too, even if, like, I will say, even though Brian tries to correct the record and they get in a little bit of a spat, even if Brian, like, even if the Gen Z kid was serious about the flat earth thing,
So you've now decided he's not serious. He's got the affirmation of the kids around him. They're all agreeing with him. It's something he's chosen to put his time in to get a grade for. But you've decided he's joking because you can't quite believe the kid would believe it.
Brian will still give him a good score for the presentation.
Did you catch that? Hang on. He said Brian would correct the record. So it's definitely not about the kids or any subject matter will do. We're not going to grade you on that. It's just your presentation skills. It was just this one subject matter. And the problem was with the teacher, not the kids, because now the teacher, after hearing the subject matter, which didn't matter if it was anything else, has to correct the record. What record? You mean the indoctrination you had?
However, he would counter him on some of the stuff. So anyways, Brian let...
Well, again, I'll just wrap it up. The person bothered here is the teacher.
Yeah.
Lets the kid go on a little bit. And in Brian's head, he's like...
So let the kid go on a little bit. Is it not the kid's presentation? You mean he gave permission to a kid fulfilling the task to continue fulfilling the task after daring to defy his religious belief? He let the kid go on a bit, did he? As opposed to interject and challenge the kid during his presentation?
Like, bro, they don't teach you how to deal with this in like teaching school. They don't teach you how to deal with this in grad school, bro. I did not take a course on.
No, what they did teach him, though, if he was teaching at a secondary level, was that gravity's not a force. Something he'll be indoctrinating and lying to the children about. Did you know that, Connor? That he will absolutely know certain aspects of what he teaches are incorrect? Specifically about gravity? Did you know that? Yeah, they didn't teach him how to cope with kids telling him that the indoctrination they're getting's wrong, but they did teach him how to lie about gravity.
All right, class, today we're going to be dealing with what happens if your student goes up and does a presentation on the Earth being flat.
Yeah. What happens if someone goes against your religious belief in your classroom? Is that something that they need to be taught how to overcome, is it? Maybe just have an overcome that puts a matter to complete rest, so that they can't convert anybody to flat Earth ever again. That would be to say, prove Earth's a sphere to the children empirically, and then they won't ever have to challenge it ever again, will they? You see, the problem is that there is no empirical evidence for Earth being a sphere. None. Zero. Nada. Doesn't exist. So there's no, I'll have to shut this down because it doesn't comport with the records I've got. What, the records in your brain that you were indoctrinated with? Yeah, this is a non-issue for anybody who's normal. For a person who's indoctrinated into a cult, they quickly need to correct something and go off the actual track of the lesson plan. Because the record needs setting straight, quick, sharp.
What do you do then? Yeah, that was not a class in college, man. So Brian was a little bit like, oh, geez, like, how do I deal with this? So anyways.
He didn't have to. He just has to assess whether the kid presented it well. He didn't have to deal with anything. How did he cope with it mentally, you mean? How did he cope with his own cognitive dissonance? How did he cope with his own religious faith being challenged? Those are the things he actually had to deal with. Yeah? Because in terms of his assessment, all the teacher had to assess was whether he presented well. That's it.
The Gen Z kid goes
struggling because they don't. He hasn't got an answer, has he? If this kid had come on and done a presentation on how to give CPR by pressing somebody's belly button, the way he'd have addressed it wouldn't have been, he'd have gone, oh, this must be a prank, this must be a joke. No, he'd have gone, no, your information's incorrect. Here's the correct information for the topic you're talking about. Well, the only reason he's dealing with it this way is he clearly can't go and give a clear rebuttal and present the evidence that proves that the Earth isn't flat. He's not able to do that. So hence the panic we've just heard. Well, they didn't teach us this at college. It's not taught. How the hell do we deal with it? Well, you should be able to deal with it if what you're claiming is true. Present the truth to the child, just as you would with any other subject. If he was presenting false information, you'd address with the correct information.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the empirically proved that the Earth is a sphere to the whole world. Then you won't have children doing presentations on how it's not a sphere.
Exactly. They can't. That's why these kids are doing it.
Yep. So as you guys know, breaking news has been coming out on TikTok about how the Earth is in fact actually flat. Basically, the government was telling us that, the Earth was round for their various reasons. And yeah, it's very convenient that Bro doesn't clarify the various reasons when he says the government has been hiding.
Does it matter? Sorry, is the kid in a debate or is he being assessed on his presentation skills? So suddenly the standards have raised considerably. Yeah?
The truth from us.
We haven't heard. Sorry, Nathan. We haven't heard any of this. We haven't heard any excerpts of this presentation. Only what this guy is saying. So we don't even know that if the kid even brought up the government.
Exactly.
I always wonder about that with these conspiracy theories. It's like, oh man, the government's hiding this from us, but why? And then
here we don't appeal to motivation. We appeal to facts and provable evidence and science.
Poison the well fallacy,
also,
isn't it?
Yeah, it is a poison the well fallacy. Hold on, I want Adam to cover that. Hold on. Go ahead, Adam. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So ultimately describing this as a conspiracy theory is again, you see, it's just this pre-assumption already. It's not anything to deal with. I don't want to talk about the science involved and discuss that. It's been bracketed already as conspiracy theory by the definition of conspiracy, but by the kind of CIA version of what conspiracy theorist means, which is to imply somebody's deluded and retarded, not that they're aware of a conspiracy to deceive.
Yeah, this is poisoning the well fallacy.
Yeah.
And then, because they are. But why? Just listen to me, bro. Yeah, but anyways, the Gen Z kid just keeps going on about how, the government is, hiding the truth about the Earth.
So he just keeps going on with his presentation that he's been set to do. He doesn't just stop after challenging the religious belief that I had. I mean, it's an outrage, really, that he carries on doing the presentation. He just carries on and on and on. With you,
Nathan,
not only did he capture the teacher's imagination and interest with this presentation, he captured a 666,000 subscriber YouTuber's attention to make a video on it. That's how well this kid in this presentation did. Give the guy an A star. Move on. Don't worry about your religious belief being challenged. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
that number's gonna change 666. All right. No, my thing is, you got a crime. The criminal didn't know there was a camera videotaping everything. Now we're in court, and they show the video. It's him. It's obviously him. Evidence from DNA, everything. It's him. And someone says, yeah, but we don't know why he did it. So we can't, what? No, we have the facts. This is what it is. We don't care about the why he did it. He did it. So in this case, with the earth and flat and round, this teacher is saying, but why would they lie? Well, the kid's trying to say, look, there's evidence that it's not a ball. I don't care why they're lying.
It's an appeal to motive fallacy.
Being a disc.
Well, it's a way.
John?
Sorry, it's a way for the teacher to avoid the subject by just calling it a conspiracy and saying why would the government lie? Would the government then the teacher doesn't have to address anything the kid is putting forward that might be an argument geometrically.
And that, so one kid actually raises his hand, and this, I don't know, we'll call this kid Ben. So Ben was not a Gen Z kid. I mean, I think he was technically. By the way, when I say Gen Z kid, I don't know if these kids are technically Gen Z kids, bro. I literally just am using.
I just need to stereotype them somehow, because the ones talking about flat Earth damn well need stereotyping.
Using that as a term to be like...
Stereotyping.
Kid who lives on TikTok and Twitter.
Stereotyping.
Consumes all their information on TikTok and Twitter.
Stereotyping.
Twitter, probably is an avid Twitter
Yeah, you don't need to spend the next 20 seconds detailing your stereotyping fallacy. It's a fallacy.
User loves making Twitter threads on people. I don't know, stuff like that.
Yeah, we're about done with your stereotyping fallacy.
So this kid Ben, who is a normal kid, right, is not weird or anything. Raises his hand, is like,
sorry. So let me get it straight. The kid that's going to presumably not be on the side of the presentation, which is irrelevant. He's a normal kid. Might not be Gen Z. Might not be part of the stereotyping fallacy I've used. Pound says it's because he doesn't agree.
What about gravity? If like the Earth...
so he put forth the religious belief, therefore automatically defined as a normal kid. Not a weirdo, not Gen Z, not part of my stereotyping fallacy. This kid asked about gravity. That's funny, you see. I also mentioned about 2 minutes ago that the teacher teaching at this level has been taught that gravity is not a force. This teacher has been taught about fourth dimensional pseudo-Riemannian force space-time bending when he got qualified to become a teacher. So when the kid raised his hand and talked about gravity inevitably being a force, I wonder if the lying bastard teacher corrected him. Let's see.
Earth was flat, like the gravity would be a lot more messed up. It makes sense that the Earth is actually round, since like the center is where all the gravity and it kind of like comes out like that. If the Earth is
comes out like as a force. Now, even though this normal kid has talked about gravity coming out of something like it's a force, yeah, presented in physical terms when it's actually a bending fourth dimensional space-time, it's not coming out of anything ever because it's only in existence in a mathematical dimension. Now, does the teacher take offence to the contradictory syllabus-based lie that he has to teach about gravity being a force to this quote-unquote normal kid and say, actually, your notion of it coming out of something isn't true because it's strictly speaking fourth dimensional space-time? Or does he choose to lie and go along with this quote-unquote normal kid's misapprehension that he's been taught otherwise about when it comes to gravity? Let's see.
Is flat, like we would not be able to stand up like we are. And that's when the Gen Z kid's like, Ben, fantastic question. So the truth is gravity is also a lie. And at this point, like Brian, the teacher, is like, oh boy, okay. This is going in deep. This is
Did the child, the kid that we, as he calls him a weirdo kid, did the weirdo kid mention anything about gravity in his presentation?
No,
at this point?
No, it was a sidebar interrupting the presentation from a quote-unquote normal kid that kept his mouth shut during this kid's presentation. But instead, during the interruption, questioning and debating a presentation that wasn't a debate, but obviously the stakes have raised massively for this poor kid. Suddenly he's got to debate questions from the sidelines from the normal kids, the non-Gen Z kids, the ones that aren't indoctrinated by Twitter and TikTok.
Yeah, they're just programmed by the system.
Now, he's cool to interrupt this presentation. Is it a debate? Was the kid set a debating challenge? Was he told in advance that kids on the sideline might challenge what he presents? I don't think so. It's just because he's talking about flat Earth. Suddenly the stakes have raised massively, haven't they? Suddenly he's got to field questions from the sidelines and look at disapproving looks from the children and teacher who's got a problem with all of this. Is the teacher making notes on the fact that everybody's paying attention to him to the point where YouTubers are making video about it? He hasn't just done a good job of presenting. He's done an outstanding job. But it's a big problem, isn't it? Yeah, because it's not in line with the heliocentric religious belief, is it? So this is a big problem. What an outrage.
This is the point. This is a point where the teacher is at a crossroads, isn't it? The subject of gravity has been raised. Now, this is the point where the teacher can describe the two models of gravity, explain spooky action at a distance, and explain the bending of a conceptual fourth dimension to describe these gravities. It's where he can actually put it. If he does, the kid's going to win, isn't he? So what's the teacher going to do? Allow heckling. But to me, this is where a teacher should be stepping in and just presenting the facts to the children of the two gravity models that are possibly being discussed. I think that will be avoided. It's interesting that the hecklers resort to gravity. But like I said, that's the opportunity for the teacher to be a teacher. It doesn't have to give a rhetoric, but he can present the facts and the descriptions of both models honestly without requiring an opinion.
But meanwhile, we're in the middle of a presentation that's now escalated to a debate with heckling. Yeah, that's what's actually happened. I'm just going to point something out, right? Anthony Riley's disclosed this to the public so far, so I'm not revealing information that he doesn't want revealing. But at government level, Anthony's attacking the fact that children are taught lies. 108-year out-of-date rhetoric about gravity is what this teacher's syllabus does tell him to teach these kids. And this teacher knows it's not the case. He wouldn't be in the position he is unless he went through that education system to the standard of fourth dimensional bending space-time for gravity. So that's the situation. Based on the lies children do get taught, people in our community are out at a government level trying to get that changed. Not changed for flat Earth, just changed to the 108-year more recent addition to the nonsense pseudoscience that is fourth dimensional, now current bending space-time. As opposed to the force this kid has incorrectly stated isn't going to be corrected about. I know already, I haven't watched it and I don't need to know that already by the description of the narrator, this guy, right, has said that what the teacher's doing is basically tutting and rolling his eyes. Well, everybody's on the edge of their seat for this kid's presentation.
Is going in deep. I don't know how
for the couple of weeks. Hang on, please. Yeah, maybe a week and a half ago, we did Eric Valinda. You did a review on one of the videos that we looked at on Big Think, I believe. Eric Valinda is a
Everybody's breaking up today.
theoretical physics at the University of Amsterdam. That video that he did, he said gravity is not a force. This is Eric Valinda. That kid's got some backup.
Yeah, damn right he has. But the teacher's not considering that. He thinks the heckler's all good, and he's rolling his eyes that the kid's not dealing with the challenge of gravity in this escalation to a debate from presentation that's got everybody hooked and listening to the point where YouTubers are making videos about it. I mean, just give the kid a distinction and move on. Don't worry about your bloody religious fundamentalism being challenged. Anyway, we're at 140 people watching. 142. One sec. If we can get to 150, only 8 people, we'll carry on live for an extra 15 minutes. It's like bribery for views. Anyway, I'm not beneath doing these things. Subscribe, share, more importantly than anything else. Hit the super chat and all those normal YouTube things. But if we can get to 150 people watching in the next 5 minutes, we'll carry on the live show a little bit longer. If not, you'll have to stay tuned for the after show. Become a member. It'll cost you. Anyway, let's move on. Was there any comments before?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I want to say, yeah. The kid, the supposedly weird kid on gravity. Now, I haven't heard this presentation, so I don't even know if the kid had brought up gravity, but challenged this kid on gravity. So, if the kid hadn't even brought up gravity, and this other kid just challenged the kid on gravity, then the flat earth kid can't be attacked on the subject.
I see what you're saying. I think you just slipped that in earlier. Right, what you're saying is it's a burden of proof reversal fallacy if the kid has to suddenly defend the notion of gravity, because it's not a claim, presumably in his presentation, or part of a flat earth claim at all. There is no flat earth gravity. And when the kids strawmanned him with, well, if earth is a flat disk, there'd be gravity working in a weird way as a force coming out from the centre. Yeah, presumably because he's watched a Vsauce video on the subject. Yeah, that's where he's got that from. We know the kid heckling Source, for God's sake. Yeah? But it's a burden of proof reversal fallacy. It's not the kid's claim. Suddenly, the kid on the sidelines, who's now in a debate with the kid, by the way, who's making a presentation, he's made a positive claim that there is a gravity, and then made a straw man assertion of how that claim he's made and not backed up would work on a flat earth based on a Vsauce video he's watched and has decided to interject in the middle of a presentation. Not that we've seen this presentation yet, by the way. It's quite comical, but the guy's got enough information in his narration for us to go on, which is good. You know, from that point of view, my friend, what's his name again? Connor, good job. As a YouTuber, my hat is off to you. Great job. That's why you've got much more subscribers than me. You're doing well. Damien Refundi.
How to handle this. Because now not only is gravity, or not only is the Earth flat, but also gravity's not real?
No. And the teacher knows it. You don't know it, do you, Connor, you dumbo? You haven't got a clue. The teacher, rolling his eyes and tutting, he does. Yeah? Now, when it's pointed out to him, I said earlier, if it becomes to the point where we have this, probably the only one I can give as an actual example, if I'm honest, point that a teacher comes to the crossroads of deceit for their religious faith, and that's gravity. How appropriate. From the sidelines heckler, who's normal non-Gen Z. Normal non-Gen Z hecklers, right? Yeah, those scummy, stereotyped, quote-unquote normal kids who interrupt all the time. Yeah, that's what the schools produce. They promote it. These normal behaviours where kids interrupt presentations to heckle and debate. When that's not the challenge at hand, they'll be promoted, right?
Like, there's just so many things, things that the teacher, Brian, has to discuss with the students.
No, he doesn't have to discuss any of it. He could have been talking about actual unicorns, so long as the presentation was engaging and not non sequitur. So no, he doesn't have to do any of this, stupid idiot.
Like, he's just like, all right, man, this list is getting longer and longer.
Why? If he was talking about Alderaan, would he be making a list of how it's not real?
So yeah, the Gen Z kid is like, Ben, excellent question. So the truth is...
So he's fielding questions now? All right. Do any of the other kids who did a presentation about their trip to Hawaii have to field questions about it?
Gravity just doesn't exist. I understand why you would think that to be true. I mean, all the fake news in the physics classroom is absolutely ridiculous. The fact that we're still taught about gravity and the con man Isaac Newton, who is actually a...
My God, the kid even knows which bits are not true. So it's got to that point. The teachers had the fact that it's 108-year out-of-date gravity pointed out to him. He better damn well correct him. He better point out that it's bending space-time, because he knows.
A probe for the government. He was a plant. He's not real. He was a...
This is irrelevant if this is what the kid says, because all that matters is it's Newtonian. If the kid mentions that, that's an instant win, because it's correct and the teacher knows it. But not that we should be assessing this based on how well he's doing in debate. I mean, the people who are watching this video, right, if you've watched this kind of Pugs video, going, yeah, the kid should be doing this. You don't think that it's unreasonable that he's now in a debate? Is that not unreasonable? No?
A fictional character created by the U.S. government to make us believe that gravity is real, to make us believe that the Earth is flat when...
It makes no difference. It's not. We don't have Newtonian gravity. The kid's nonsense assertions, while engaging in presentation, are irrelevant to the debating point that's now being talked about, because it's all irrelevant. Other than to grab your attention and make sure you've got good eye contact and haven't made non sequiturs.
Is round when the Earth is actually flat and it's a probe by the government. And Ben obviously is not satisfied by this answer, but also Ben, the guy who asked, oh, what about gravity? He's not going to have a fight with this kid about if the Earth is flat.
He shouldn't even be talking in the middle of the kid's presentation. But the normal kid's decided he's going to butt out of this kid's presentation because he doesn't want to have a fight about it. So it's escalating to the normal kid wanting to take violent action against the kid. Is this the normal non-Gen Z stereotype kid? This is the normal kid. And it's reasonable that he's decided he's not going to have a fight over it. Because that's his second thought after interrupting this presentation.
Flat. Dude, sometimes I just hear these people be like, oh, the Earth is flat or whatever. And I'm just like, no, but also...
They just say Earth is flat or whatever. What about the people who say Earth is flat because it's measured that way and mapped that way? What about those people? Are they just saying or whatever? The people who actually present evidence of how the Earth functions? Is that just whatever, followed by you going, nah?
I don't feel like picking a fight with you over if the...
So you are going to focus on the fact that this quote-unquote normal kid is not going to, quote, pick a fight with a kid challenging his religious beliefs during a presentation he should have his mouth shut in. Okay. This is the normal kid, remember?
Earth is round or flat, bro. Like, that's just not how I want to spend my, like, Friday or Saturday.
He should be keeping his mouth shut. He's not doing the presentation, but he's what? Peppering whether or not he's going to concern himself with it. So he's definitely engaged in the presentation then. Like, more than engaged. Thinking about whether or not it's going to affect his weekend.
Afternoon. I just have different things I wanted, like, I don't know. I just value my time enough that I know that, like...
Oh, I value my time enough to definitely consider and pay attention to this presentation that's being done. Is this kid on his phone? Is he watching TikTok while this presentation's going on by any chance? Is any child in the room on TikTok being told not to be on their phone while this kid does the presentation? I wonder, given that these bloody Gen Z kids aren't, at the beginning of the class, paying attention to the teacher to the point where it's got to tell them off about their phones. I would like to wager that not a single person in the room is not paying attention to this kid at this point. None of them are on their phones at this point, are they?
Like, having that type of conversation.
Go on.
Sorry, just a second. I think actually this guy has gone off the track and he's not even speaking for the past couple of minutes about the kid. He's speaking about himself. That objected with gravity that he's speaking about now. He's after kind of sidebarring off of that and adding himself in. Now he's talking about his opinions. That's what he's actually doing there, from what I can get.
Yeah, I see that too.
Well, on that note, we're going to say with 133 people watching, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned because there will be an after show to follow. A massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the live stream for tuning in, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a member, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either after show. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!